Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again. I do apologize. Had some technical difficulties. Once again, my special guest is Mr. and Mrs. Bowe. I want to shoot right to them so we can get on with the show. We're running pretty late, so we'll be back right after this message.
If you're looking for the best quality work in drywall, metal stud, wood framing, sheetrock installation, joint compound work, drywall finish, painting, and more, contact JMac Drywall System for quality work at a great price. To get a quote today, contact at 8232-247-5585-106 or email jmacdrywallsystem@gmail.com. JMac Drywall System. We get the job done right.
Due to the high cost of remodeling an existing home and building a new one, many clients are asking whether it's better to renovate their home or build a new house. Well, we have the solution for you. Attend Emmett White's Self-Build Homeowners Educational Seminar and learn how you can save from 25 to 45% off your new home construction or renovation costs. It's an event you don't want to miss. Follow our Facebook page at Emmett White 242 for updates on when the event will be held in Abaco, Freeport, Grand Bahama, Exuma, Eleuthera, and Nassau. Make plans to attend now so you can be informed on how to save thousands of dollars when remodeling or building your new dream home.
Are you planning on building or remodeling your home, but afraid of being ripped off, overcharged, or receiving substandard workmanship? Then you don't want to miss the Emmett White First-Time Homeowner Educational Seminars. Don't become a victim. Attend the event, ask questions, get answers, and learn from one of the industry experts. Follow our Facebook page at Emmett White 242 for updates on when the event will be held in Abaco, Freeport, Grand Bahama, Exuma, Eleuthera, and Nassau.
Thank you for joining Let's Talk Construction. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, my special guest this evening is Mr. and Mrs. Bowe. They're going to share their story with their construction project. Please like and share the page. I believe it'd be great to share this information with those who might be in the process of building or remodeling their home. Also, the first-time homeowners. I do believe the Bowe's experience will shed some light on things that one must look out for, try to be proactive, and also, who to engage in, and also, get some assistance before making that step to build or remodel their home. So without further delay, I would invite the Bowes them in to the show. Mr. and Mrs. Bowe, once again, I do apologize for the mishap.
Not a problem.
Thank you for joining me on the Let's Talk Construction show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us.
So before we get started, indulge into the your experience, and I dub it our home building horror story. All right, nothing to smile about, but after it's all done, thank God you came out sane and can talk about it. And like Mr. Bowe mentioned, he asked to come on the show because he wanted to, share, you all wanted to share your experience with others, so they can be informed on some of the things that you all went through. And I must say that, there are other persons. You're not the first, and I don't think you'll be the last. Unfortunately, you guys found out about me later on after everything was already, done. But I believe your testimony would help others, to at least adhere and say, hey, before I make this step, let me seek some other advice. And I think that's what it's all about. Like I told someone the other day, I say, hey, some of the things that I may can handle, you may not can handle. You may not be able to handle. The other party down the road may not be able to handle that load. Also, they could freak out. It could get into a situation. So the fact that you were able to go through it and come out, I'm quite sure, there are other factors that, even would lead up to this, you're still not pleased with. But the fact that I commend you, the fact that you were willing to come on the show and share, your experience is commendable. I appreciate that. I've been advocating for homeowners for a little over 20 years, even through the banking system, where they have, and I don't mean to be long-winded, where they have some inspectors who go out and inspect homes, and lo and behold, the homes are not to that stage for payment, and there's also some of the appraisal, they sign off on it. I also had some folks from Ministry of Works, one or two inspectors. This has been a while back. I haven't heard anything would occur since then. Well, stages were signed off, and upon inspection, when I went to assist the homeowner, I discovered that the stages that they were requesting was in some cases only 60 to 70% completed. There were a lot of other elements would not finish. But that's a story for another day. So once again, I just like to thank you for taking the time to come out on the show to share your view. So share with me that the audience, what your project. Let's get started. What your project was all about? Was it a new construction? What was it? What type of project was it?
Well, it was a renovation. We bought a repossessed property, so it was a fixer-upper, essentially. But when we started, we stripped it to its core. The roof came off. All of the walls were pretty much stripped, and everything inside was demolished and gutted. And the floors were taken up, everything, because we had to put in a new plumbing system, new electrical system. We reconfigured it. We bought a duplex, and we added on a level. So we made one side a 2-story, and then the other side was a duplex. Well, sorry, a unit that was a 2-bedroom. We converted to 1 bed, 1 bath, 2 1-bed, 1-bath units.
So it was a pretty big project, and actually, basically everything was starting from new. Even though it was a renovation project, it was everything starting from scratch, starting from new. Yeah.
The only thing that we really left in place were the 4 walls and the foundation, but like I said, that had to be dug up. So let's fast track. We engaged a contractor who, everybody hears horror stories about contractors, and it's unfortunate that they have, such a bad rap or a bad rep. And so we thought that it may have been in our best interest to go with somebody that we knew.
Someone that we knew and trusted.
And so we, and we had to get quotes from others. So we engaged people that we didn't know, but at the end of the day, we settled on somebody that we knew, because we figured, okay, we know you, you know us, you're not going to do this to us. And I'll put it out there. This person was actually our small group leader at church.
Oh my goodness.
So
we felt it was best to go, because of the horror stories you hear, we felt it was best to go with relationship, you trust this person, and there's a relationship there, so they're going to have your best
interest at heart. And then
Right.
because we both knew we were new to this, there were lots of things we were
Yes.
unaware of,
Totally oblivious.
oblivious to. We figured, okay, we could trust this person, that they're gonna guide us through this process, and they're not gonna take advantage of us, and not gonna, do what inevitably ended up happening anyway. But long story short, we started our construction. Demolition started on the 13th of June, 2022. And it should have been a 6-month project. So we were hoping to be in our home by that Christmas. Christmas of 2022. We didn't move into our home until November of 2023.
Oh my
and
goodness.
still wasn't finished.
Still wasn't finished.
Question.
But we were, and so there were delays along the
Delays
process,
upon
and of
delays.
course we thought that, I mean, some of the delays we knew were extensive, but in October of 2022 we realized that things were not progressing. We should be in our home in October, and this is what our building is looking like. Something's not right. And my husband just got the hunch. He was like, let's engage a homeowner's rep. And so we reached out to somebody that we knew that was also in the industry for them to do an assessment. And the initial report had like 27 things that were not done. One of the most important was a lolly column. Because we'd added a second floor, we needed lolly columns. I didn't even know what lolly columns were. And he said that that was missing.
Right. And I do want to point out there, because you started to talk about this initially. Now, granted, our homeowners rep, our report, like she said, it was a list of deficiencies and things that needed to be completed. But when we got the report from the
quantity surveyor,
that
the
was
inspector,
approved by the
lender,
that report came back with 2 thumbs up. And that happens throughout the process.
Sorry, we can just back up a bit. You said when you got
the report from the inspector, who was
just
approved
inspection
on the bank list. Yes.
This report for inspection.
Each lender has their approved inspectors.
Right.
So of course, when we got to this particular phase, we needed the inspector to come in to say yes, we could advance. And the inspector actually signed off, was paid. And that phase was not complete.
And that happens throughout every phase. And the inspector just had 2 thumbs up, but it was totally different from our owner's rep report each time.
Interestingly enough, too, something you said, our mortgage rep never came to our construction site.
Yeah, never came.
So even after that rep was just depending on what the inspector was saying, rather than coming out to see for himself.
Right.
So our gut feeling, our instinct said something's not right. We engaged the homeowner's rep, and at one point we actually stalled and we put the project on hold because things were not.
If you want to stick a pin right up, sorry, get any further, right? Before you get any further, just had a question. Was during the inspection process for the payment to be released, were there any other inspection done by any other agency, like Ministry of Works?
We don't know.
Because you mentioned.
I honestly can't say. I mean, I don't know if our contractor would have arranged them if at some point these things needed to happen. I know that when we were ready to get our occupancy certificate, that people came out, but I can't say. So let me backtrack. So based on that, so the reason why we actually ended up engaging the homeowner's rep is because our architect happened to pass by the property one day, and he was like, "Yep, your place ain't being built according to my design."
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
And we were like, "What?
That's typical.
What are you talking about?" He was like, "No, my architectural drawings calls for
this and that,
and your building has XYZ, and I have ABC." And that was what triggered us engaging the independent homeowners rep. And our contractor said, well, I chose to do this because I thought it would be better for the building, more structurally sound. He justified it.
I want to go a little further there with that, because throughout the whole process, he would always say that to us. He made a decision to do this, rather than having a conversation with us along the way, whatever it
And
was.
he
He
didn't have
said,
a
"Okay,
conversation.
guys, yes, okay, guys, this is
He
happening. This is
deviated
where
from the
we're at.
plans.
This is what I'm suggesting." He would just go ahead and make the decision and then let us know what was done. And
And
we would
that's
always say now, okay, granted you already made that decision, but are we still
in
within
budget?
budget? And are we still within the time frame? And he would always say yes.
and okay, so with that being said, the time frame is important. Did you have a schedule to say, or it's called a bar chart schedule showing each given day the activities of the job or just being done?
No,
No.
only initially he told us the time frame it would have taken, but we never saw
A work
we never
breakdown
saw a
structure
plan.
or a plan.
It actually came to a point where we created one for him to follow.
Because we're both project management certified, so it's like, okay, we need this work breakdown structure.
Okay, so you follow what I'm talking about with the schedule.
Yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
so interested. Before we go any further, if you don't mind, how seeing that the bank was involved, I'm assuming that you did get some funding from the bank.
Mhm.
And all right, what did you report this incident to them to say, hey, look, you know,
We did. I went to
Yes, it came down to a point where
Yes.
at a point we wanted to inquire, letting go this contractor. And so we went to the institution, to the lender, to say, hey, we want to fire our current contractor. What happens? What do we have to do? And
we were told pretty much no, we couldn't.
by that
By our
agent.
mortgage rep.
and
We were told by
and
our mortgage rep. And mind you, prior to going to our mortgage rep, we had sought counsel, even with our lawyer. And she said, typically the process is they should say to you, secure how many ever number of quotes, whether it's 2 quotes, 3 quotes, whatever their requirement is. And if the quotes for the scope of work comes back within budget, you should be given the opportunity.
Right, and we never were.
We were never given that opportunity.
Actually, he told my wife out front, no, it couldn't happen. We would have to stick with the contractor we currently using.
see, and this is where knowledge is power. I mean, I homeowners, I mean, it's something that already happened. Consumers in general must be able to stick, to their plan, or hold the mortgage companies hostage and say, hey, listen now, that I wouldn't use the word hostage or backtrack on that. Hold them firmly and said, hey, look, this is what I want. I mean, at the end of the day, you're paying back that money. All right. So with interest. And so for them to dictate, there should be a clause in there. All right. A clause in there for you to get out. It's like playing Monopoly. Life is like that. Get out of jail, to get out of jail free card. Reason I'm saying that is because they now put you in a position where you have to keep that contractor, or you have, let's say if you decided to keep the contractor but wanted to, mind you, the contractor's doing their own thing, all right? But the second party who's supposed to be carrying out the inspection, that's where the main problem comes in, because he is the watchdog. He's the person watching out for your interests and the bank interests. But it seems that many of the mortgage industry, the mortgage companies, firms, they once you lock into that mortgage agreement, they don't give a hoot. All right, they don't. I'm saying this based on experience. I want to piggyback on what happened to you all. All right, about 20 years ago, I went into plead for homeowner. There's a couple of them. This one in particular, and the bank, the lender, informed my client that, listen, no, same thing we said. You can't change the contractor, and you cannot change the inspector. I had all of the information showing, the relevant information showing them exactly what was going on, and they refused the client to select another inspector, real estate inspector. Back then, the real estate inspector, there was a appraiser who were doing inspection. Now I see them, I just see a few came across my table a few months ago, where they're now calling themselves quantity surveyors. All right. That's a story for another day. but most of them are now portraying themselves as being quantity surveyors. Okay, real estate / quantity surveyor, and this is where the problem comes in. They don't have the time. Sometimes they're working with the contractor, or they just it's just negligence. Just
That's correct.
just don't care. All right, everybody get paid, but you left holding the buckets. So I just thought I wanted to insert that there. So you're not the first.
I want to actually add to that because it's funny you said that, because there was a point in time when we reached out to that particular inspector who was approved by the lender to say, hey, there's some discrepancies because our owner's rep report and your report, and we're not happy here and there. And before he reached out to us as the clients, he actually gave a call to our contractor.
And then our contractor called us
to say that he heard from the inspector.
Yeah. So we figured that the two of them were in cahoots, and who knows? Yeah. And so it was a really, really, really interesting experience. But the one thing, and the reason Phil and I agreed to come on the show is so that we can share our story and empower other people so that they don't go through a similar experience.
And to speak up, for what's happening, because it happens a lot of times, but you don't hear the stories. People seem to be, I don't know, don't want to ruffle feathers, whatever it is. But what has to be done has to be done. Because again, this is someone that we knew, trusted, and had a relationship with.
I don't know if it's a particular incident that happened in Freeport just a day or two ago. And I would hope that be reflection for what's to come. People take a stand.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah,
take a stand.
Absolutely
and,
right.
And make things happen.
We were just speaking about that situation.
People's power. Night. And I still have to say this: these lending agencies have been doing this for years. I'm talking 20 years, over 20 years. I've seen a lady flip. When I said flip, she freaked out.
I recall you telling me about that incident.
She freaked out. She was a nurse. I would go as far as to say that. Her house is out now, so it's beautiful, nice landscape home. And the same thing happened. But she had to what happened was her house was 90% finished. It was 90% finished on paper, but 55% finished in reality.
Oh my God.
All right. And a whole slew, Mr. Bowe. I mean, you all might have come out. Listen, our home was about $407,000. She'd already maxed out. Everybody got paid. All right. Walls were cracking. All right. Walls were cracking. Some plumbing was not finished. Electrical was not finished. All right.
Kids are constantly sick from the mold.
Okay. So sorry, go ahead.
No, so we wanted to share our story, and I think one of the biggest lessons we learned, and if we had to start over, they say hindsight is 20/20, and in pretty much doing a retrospect of our experience, the one thing I would encourage everybody to do, if you are embarking on this journey of construction, renovation, whatever it is, to make sure sit down with your contractor at the beginning and to go through everything in detail and not to take anything for granted. And sometimes you just assume that because they're the expert, things are going to happen in a particular order, a particular way. And we took that for granted. And our contractor had to provide us with a contract that we had to present to the bank. But if I had to do it again, I would have also created and drafted a contract for my contractor to sign that would also have clauses for ways out and what would happen and the specifics. So even at the onset, we had some red flags, but we didn't realize they were red flags because the person we engaged as our homeowner's rep prior to construction, we shared our contract with him and the scope of work. And he was like, this is vague.
Very vague, very vague.
He was like, please ask your contractor this question. So he sent us a slew of questions
to ask the contractor
for our contractor to answer. And it came back. And that should have been a red flag to us. But us being totally oblivious, we had no clue at that time. And our homeowners rep said, that was a red flag that we missed. But we were we trusted this person. And so we didn't think that we would end up, traveling this road. But I would personally, as the client, I would encourage people to draft your own contract with the terms and conditions, but based on the scope of work that the contractor provides. So once you get their contract, you look at that and you draft your own, and you hold them accountable to these timelines, to everything. And I think if we had done that, and even having the exit clauses like you mentioned, I think we would have been better off, because his contract had nothing about exit clauses. And so the bank said we didn't have that in there. And of course, so it became really.
Before one of the clauses I always encourage during my first time homeowners seminar is arbitration. All right. And I will probably do a show on that sometime. But that would have been a great clause to include inside your contract. And of course, a grace period for him to get things sorted out. And if that didn't happen, you could exit the contract. The fact that what I find amazing, you said the bank, if I call it, the bank was advising you on certain things that you couldn't do because of the contract. Didn't they review the contract, or the
Well, I guess it was reviewed at the time of convenience. So when we wanted to exit and they didn't want us to exit or advise us against it, they made it known that our contracts didn't speak to an exit clause or have that in there. And so, like I said, it was a learning experience for us, and we just don't want people to have to go through this. I think you know the saying, you don't know what you don't know. Like you don't realize the things you don't know until you're faced with the situation and you realize, I am totally clueless about this and I have no idea.
What I would say, that what I want to definitely say to persons, your listeners, is when it comes to the lender as well. Like she mentioned, there were some red flags we saw, because the service we got from I don't want to say the lender itself,
not the institution, but the individual.
Individual, yes, and I must retract that too when I talk about the individuals.
We should have asked for a meeting with the heads of the institution to speak to the service we were getting from that individual, which we did at the end. But that's another matter. But also to never go with someone like choosing a contractor, never go with someone and ensure, even if they have to provide proof, ensure that they are using skilled, experienced workers.
Right.
Whether they speak English or not. Whether they speak English or not.
Yeah.
Make sure that they can provide proof that they are skilled and experienced.
Yes, and the part. Sorry, go ahead.
We had somebody who was on our site every day, the most consistent person on the site actually, but he didn't even know how to use a level. So our windows slanted, our windowsills are slanted, like our closet isn't, like nothing. I'm like,
what? When it comes to, and both my wife and I were very meticulous, very
detail oriented.
I hate to use the term
OCD.
Yes,
we're OCD.
But there was no finesse in any of the finishing work at all. No
attention to detail
at all.
Oh,
at all. And if you ask the contractor, he would say, well, it's all cosmetic. It's all cosmetic, and but whether it's cosmetic or not, it's our home. It's our final product. It's our final product.
And it's our biggest investment. And so the most heart-wrenching experience for me, for me was, we were moving in, we were excited despite all of the challenges and setbacks. When it was time to move in, we was like, okay, we're finally at this point. We've been waiting for this moment for forever.
For 2 years.
For 2 years. So 18 months. So we move in, we move in, and the night So Phil and I, because we have children, Phil and I were moving things ahead of time, setting up. And we actually, for security purposes, we were sleeping here, but the kids were sleeping by my mom still. And the nights that we decided that everything was straight and we could move in and we could bring the children, finally bring them home to see their new home, my mom brought them to us. And my son, he was 3 at the time, went into the bathroom, our half bath downstairs, and he started screaming that it's raining inside.
Oh,
We had a major leak through the ceiling upstairs. Our oldest son was upstairs taking a shower, and all the water from the shower was coming downstairs. We had a major flood. Our first night.
We have major plumbing issues, Emmett, to the point where a lot of our cupboard doors, we have locks on them because we don't want the kids to open them. Once you open up the scent
of
moisture
and mildew just hits you.
We have rooms in our home where some of the electrical outlets just don't even work.
We have screens that are not properly installed.
Yes, we can't even, if there's a fire, we can't even properly get out of our window, the way the window opens.
And the screen, it's just...
Yes.
Our bedroom has 3 windows, and all 3 of them, one has a screen and one doesn't.
Yes. We had, we had an inspector come in to do inspect our roof. Turns out our roof was rushed. It wasn't properly done. It's a cost to have it completed properly.
We have shingles on our roof that are missing, and we have hardy plank on it. And we had somebody come and install AC units, and there was like, there's this gaping hole. He was like, anything could fit between your hardy plank and the plywood because it's not properly installed. We had an electrician come, and he was like, he could see straight outside.
Yeah, we had major, so it's not all just cosmetic, as the contractor would like to say. And I want to point out, Emmett, because what the contractor would like, in his defense, what he would like the public to know is that, when we started this process, he would say, well, I went with you guys, we looked at different homes, because he took his own time to do that. And then he would also say he made an adjustment. When he gave us his initial quote, we said, we need you to pinch the numbers just a bit. We need you to pinch the numbers a bit. So he always goes back, well, I pinched the numbers. So, and my thing is, okay, you pinch the numbers. So because of that, does that mean we are to accept substandard work and bad work?
For instance, I said to him, knowing that we had needed to adjust numbers and we were, tight, to leave the tiles on because the tiles were in one section did not need to come up. And he was like, no, we're going to change them. We're going to change them. Your house isn't. But we knew, and Phil and I had already discussed that after we would have caught ourselves settled in, we could do things in a phased approach. We would save for it. We would say, okay.
But again, there were times when he would just make the decision, even though we're already working with a certain budget, a new budget,
a revised budget.
Because it's a new budget, and you said, yes, I will still take the job. So to me, that means with the new figure now, you're going back to your plan and saying, okay, I've got to do this, got to pull from here, because there's now a new plan, but that never happened. But even still, you still accept the job, and it should mean that everything should be done efficiently and properly and completely.
And so to speak to that point, for instance, so his thing is he was being a blessing to us.
Yes,
that's his common phrase, that I was being a blessing. And admittedly, when we started this whole process, like Phil said, we were looking at different repossessed properties, and he would give his assessment and say, okay, I think this building is more structurally sound. You're going to get a better buy here based on what the market price was. So he was there. So we trusted him. We thought he had our best interests at heart. So when you decide that you're going to give me steel columns, concrete columns with steel in it,
without discussing
it versus the wooden columns that the drawing called for, you did that at your expense and not mine, because you made that decision without even consulting us.
And don't throw it in our face when we're now complaining about something not being properly done or the workmanship being poor. don't now say, well, I gave you this. I gave you steel columns.
But we didn't
So,
ask for them.
because you gave me steel columns, I should say, okay, well,
So I don't need screens in my house
okay, or the tiles. Even though even though you weren't supposed to give us tiles, you gave us tiles because you wanted to be a blessing. But all the tiles are all in all kind of different pattern. But we should accept it because, well, he gave us tiles. No, if you're gonna do it properly.
Yeah, it was a lot, and I just think that I just never expected this to happen, because in my mind, if you are being contracted to construct a multi-million-dollar building, and that was the thing for me. This is the contractor that is building the new Bahamas Harvest Church, and I'm not calling any names. This is the contractor, and I'm thinking, if you've been trusted to build a multi-million-dollar property, surely you can build my property. And that was my thing. I just felt like I trusted that, because I figured due diligence had taken place. And so to get this,
maybe that's what it was. Maybe this project was just too small for that individual.
Did you engage the pastor saying that this is from your church?
yes, we've engaged our pastor. That's
Our pastor did get involved, and actually, so it came down to us agreeing, because we wanted to keep the
relationship.
We were being encouraged to keep that relationship and to give him the opportunity, if that contractor, the opportunity to come back and now do all the completions and the deficiencies, which they said they wanted the chance to do, because we were like, no, we'd rather go with someone else. But we gave them the chance, got the final check from the bank, which was another concern of ours from the bank. Again, that individual at the bank, because as you know, there's a final check and then there's retention. He made the two into one and gave it to the contractor. They had a conversation themselves without speaking to us. He gave the two checks as one. He received that to say he would complete the work. His workers came by one weekend, and we hadn't seen him. We haven't seen him. We didn't see him again. He ghosted us.
But don't you have the sign off for the check? No.
Pardon me?
Didn't you have to sign off to release the check?
So we finished in November, and we were not satisfied. So I wrote to our lender, and I wrote to our mortgage officer, and I explained our dissatisfaction and that we were not pleased, and that we did not in fact want our contractor to receive the final payment or the retention check, because we knew we had deficiencies, because again, our inspector came behind and we did our punch list. So our contractor said, do your punch list. Our punch list had 129 items on it.
Oh my goodness.
From certified and experienced contractor. And so when we got that punch list, I wrote to my lender and I said, look, we really don't want our contractor doing these items on this punch list. We've been down this road before, and we don't want to release the check because we have these deficiencies that need to be addressed. And I think that final check and the retention should take care of it. So that happened in January, because I was not releasing a check for Christmas. Nobody was having a good Christmas off of my money. I'll be honest with you. And then there was this lapse in time, and in April, so it was January, February, March, April. It took us 4 months, realistically, for me to be settled, that we should allow him the opportunity.
And again, with consultation of our pastor trying to keep us all so we then agreed, okay, we would go with him. But the individual at the bank, at our lender, it should have been two checks. The final check should have been given to him and to do the work, and then upon our satisfaction, and then release the retention. But he went ahead and made the two as one.
And we signed, and that was an error on our part that I would admit, right? So that was something that we overlooked in the process. So needless to say, our contractor admitted to us that they needed these funds in order to complete the project. He was like, in order for me to do the work that needs to be done, I need the funds that's owed to me. After, like Phil said, consultation with our pastor, trying to maintain the relationship, wanting our place to be finished really more than anything. We said, okay, we're gonna release the checks in good faith, We had a meeting with him.
Yeah.
We had several meetings with him. We created a whole schedule.
Again, because from day one we never saw one. There was never one presented to us. Okay, this is for week 1 or week 2 or month 1, month 2. Okay, this was done. Okay, guys, this was done. This is checked off. It was never anything of that. We created that for him, and even then he couldn't follow it. Even then we would say, go back
to the list,
check off. Let's check off. Even that he wouldn't.
He struggled to do and wouldn't do at times. And so we created this whole schedule, sat down at our dining table, had a kumbaya, and was like, okay.
And then got the checks, and ghosted us again.
Yeah, so he came one Saturday, which was actually our anniversary weekend. So we totally canceled our anniversary plans because, okay, we excited. We're going to have, our home is going to be completed. He showed up on the 20th of April this year with some men to do some work with the drywall.
Even after he promised it wouldn't be the same workers as before, he came with the same workers. Even though we said we don't want the same
workers,
unskilled workers.
Same people show up. And the plan was the following weekend, he called and he said, I will be able to start this weekend, but the following weekend is my mom and son's birthday. We're having a birthday celebration. I'm going to ask that we suspend this week and then we'll resume after that. Never saw him.
So the following week it should have happened. And it came down, Emmett, where I was always calling, you're coming this week. And then after the guys came the first week, and then the week after the birthday celebrations, I would say, okay, are you now coming to check the work? I said, because we've been down this road again before. I need you to come and check. It was almost, I had to run behind him to come and check the work. He's never seen yet the last work that was done, which was some baseboards that his quote unquote, the new foreman. We were never, at one point in the beginning, we were unsatisfied with the foreman. So he got rid of that guy, never told us there was a new foreman. But at the end of the day, he's saying there was always someone there, foreman. I'm like, and who he called as the foreman, like, couldn't be, not the person who never knew how to use a level. That couldn't be the foreman. It couldn't be.
Oh my Lord. So it was, and then he admitted that he was not checking the work of the workers.
Now he wouldn't admit that today, because now when it came up with something we're dealing with, where he said he doesn't recall that, but he told us he doesn't check the work of his workers. But that was evident. The roof explains that.
So at the onset, we have dormers, and they were being constructed incorrectly. They actually had to start over, like they had to reconfigure it because one dormer is bigger than the other two. So there are 3 dormers. One is considerably larger than the others. And at one point they were touching and they shouldn't have been touching. So they had to reconstruct them. It was crazy.
Yeah, I think we summed it up that a lot of the men on the project, including the first foreman, well, the only foreman that we knew of, couldn't particularly read English.
Couldn't read English and couldn't read plans.
Oh, wow.
Right. Speaking of plans, there were times when we never saw the plans.
No, on one or two occasions.
There was a time when the
electrician was here. And I happened to show up.
She happened to be here, and he was asking her, where do I put all the stuff? Even though we have electrical drawings, they were never there for the. So thank God my wife was there to say, okay, put this here, put this here. Yeah.
And that's how we ended up with electrical sockets, because he never gave the electrician the electrical drawings to know where outlets should have been.
What I want to point out, Emmett, because I know this is only a 30-minute show, but what I want to point out is something you said when you talked about the lady and what happened, how she ended up losing it. Let me tell you, this is something that puts pressure on marriages. It has been a tough 2 years for us, separate and apart from what we've been through with the contractor and our home. When it comes down to what God has put together, it is a lot of pressure on marriages.
Yeah.
What these guys are doing. If we weren't the best of friends, I think this project would have separated us.
Yeah, and I'd add, actually, when we started this project, I was 8 months pregnant. So after that, postpartum kicked in, and so could you imagine? And only God has kept us, to be quite honest.
And I forgot to mention the lady who flipped out. Yeah, they did. She was married, and they did separate. They divorced.
I'm sure.
It did take
I'm
a
sure.
it did take a
Because
toll.
yeah, there are times when it's so much frustration that without even realizing it, you start playing the blame game.
Right,
Yeah.
because sadly, um, her husband did go and do. He went there. He was on site more than her because she was a nurse, and everything. Sad, him and the layman in the field. He felt that okay, walls going up, ceilings in, everything fine. So he said he was telling everything looked good. They were signing off, just signing off.
And
They ran
speaking of
through.
being on site, we were constantly on site. And you know what we never saw? The contractor.
Yeah, yeah. And you see,
He's actually, I want to point out, probably through this process, he probably traveled about 7 times. And I'm not talking about Miami, I'm talking vacations.
oh,
Like
wow.
gone for like 2 weeks, gone for extended periods of time. And even at one point while traveling, our windows were 5 of our windows were stolen out of our building.
Did you had contractors all
And
rest insurance?
Well, yes, he did take
the
that out
windows were
initially,
replaced,
so
yeah,
the windows were replaced, but yeah,
And interestingly enough, somebody said to us, our homeowners rep said if those windows were properly installed, nobody should have been able to take them out.
and that was proven to us.
And that was proven to us.
We have a matter going on now where an inspector had to come, and it was proven to us that the windows weren't properly installed. He was actually able to shake the windows. He said that if a hurricane comes, there might not be any shatter, but these windows are coming out. Now, this was
Wow.
by the person who wants to be a blessing to us.
Mm.
Yeah, so
Oh,
we
man.
have
So
a lot.
sad,
And
sad to
the
say,
interesting
with
thing about that is
I hope
that, sorry, go ahead.
I hope the person is not a bishop or a pastor. You said that your church member.
He's not a bishop or a pastor.
Pastor, but he's a leader in the church. Let's just say that.
Yeah, it's sad to say. Some of them they're the ones you run from. All right.
It's sad. Yeah,
It is
it's very
sad.
It's really sad.
And
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a learning experience for us. I think we are thankful. I'm thankful. I think we're thankful to each other that we've been able to extend grace because, like he said, it's easy to, play the blame game or you should have done this or,
Yeah.
you should have done that or we should have done this or we should have done that. But at the end of the day, we cannot take responsibility for somebody's actions who we have no control over. And that's what I've
Yes.
realized. Like, neither one of us had control over this individual. We made a mutual decision as a couple that we would engage this individual. We trusted this individual. And so at the end of the day, he doesn't give us a jacked up home. We couldn't allow him to jack up our marriage as well and our family. And so we've had some tough moments, yes, because from the onset, because it wasn't a new construction, we
Uh-huh.
had to pay full mortgage
Oh yes.
from the onset.
From the onset. We didn't know. And I want to point
Yeah.
out when we asked the individual at the lender, oh, but how come we didn't know that? He said, well, you never asked.
Sorry, I don't mean to harm. When you ask the lender,
We brought it to his attention because in our mind, we were only going to have to pay interest, right? Because I mean,
Right.
that's
Until the
typical,
home-
until the home was completed or within a time frame.
right.
So when they messaged and said that our first payment was due, like a
And
month
he-
after we signed,
We're still
we stopped
paying rent. Still paying rent.
so we were paying mortgage, we were paying rent, and we
Oh,
were
my
paying
goodness.
storage, and we had just had a new baby.
Yes, but his response was, well, you never asked.
Oh,
I tell you, the service we got from that
The
individual was horrible.
wow.
Horrible. It was almost as though initially I thought it was someone my wife maybe knew from the past, and that's why he was being so short, so sharp at me.
I never knew that. Like having an aha
What's
moment.
going on now?
I say this must be why he being so sharp at me. But
Right. He's not for you.
and from what our lawyer has told us, there are other persons that have complained about that individual at that institution as well.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Wow.
so, and interestingly enough, I mean, people know who our contractor is. We
People who
And
know us
people
know.
who know us know. And
Okay.
it's amazing how many people, just about 2 weeks ago, I called somebody and she said, Nikki, if I had only known I was your contractor, she said, he do my sister right in.
It's
Oh my
amazing
goodness.
the stories we hear from persons who were like, I didn't know that was your contractor. So many people, even our lawyer has said that there are other persons that have come to her
That she
about
has
this
pursued
particular
legal
contractor.
action.
So
Well,
this is something that happens.
This isn't,
um,
we're not the first.
well,
And we know we're not the first, but we're hoping that we are the last.
We're hoping
because
that we're the sacrificial lamb
we're the sacrificial lamb, like
Mhm.
the incidents that happened,
in Grand
in
Bahama.
Grand Bahama. Somebody has to take the
Yes,
fall first. Yes.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
we took the fall and we're taking a stand.
Mhm.
And we hope that people do right by people, because this is people's livelihood. Like your
Yeah.
mortgage is like your biggest
It's the biggest
investment.
investment.
And
It was
to
what,
know that, like,
15 years, 20?
yeah, 20 years.
And trust me, and the bank taking that out as soon as you get paid, the bank taking
My-
out
my
what
goodness.
you have for them.
I thought it was a
Yeah.
grace period. No grace period.
Yeah, we didn't have that grace period. We were not fortunate to have that. So as soon, I mean, and I will
Soon as you
say
got a
they were
draw.
lenient. They gave us a 1 month, because when he called and said y'all payment due, we was like, what? We was like, already?
But
We
the
even
moment
ain't
you finish
started.
it,
No, we even ain't started construction. What are you talking about? And so
Wow.
they gave us a 1 month grace period, and that was it. And from then, we've been paying on time, and yeah. And so it's been interesting, but it just shows that, at the end of the day, people are who they are.
Right.
Either you're going to get somebody with integrity and character, or you're not. You can't paint everybody with the same brush. There are some
Right.
people and contractors, and this is how I feel. A lot of times you feel like when you see the big name construction companies, you feel like you're going to spend a lot of money, right? And so you bear away. So you're trying to find that small man or that small business because you want to help them, and you feel like they're going to come in within budget.
big mistake.
You're
Right,
either
right.
going to pay one way or the other. You're either going to pay on the front end or you're going to pay on the back end. And which one do you prefer to?
Yeah.
And so
It's best
I
to-
would
it's best to
encourage
go
people to
with
go
the known company.
with the companies rather than the individual. And yes, that individual may have a company and may have people, but do they have a structured company? Because, child, what we got was a lot was left to be desired. And it's just, so I want people to consider that, because you're going to spend a lot of money, and at the end of the day, you might as well get the end product and the end, what you want and what you
Right.
desire, and the vision that you're able to bring to life. And so, yeah, we've had some rough patches, but by the grace of God, we've persevered, we've stuck together. And
That's
I just
good.
think that I hope that our story empowers and encourages other people to know that you can do it. And I'll say this much too. When you think about home ownership, you think about all of these costs involved, right? And a lot of people kind of run away from home ownership because the front end investment can be expensive. The down payments, the having to pay for drawings, having to pay all these different things. And there were so many other auxiliary costs that we were totally unaware of. And if somebody had said to us, you needed like $50,000 in the bank to start this, we had to say, well, we can't start this because we don't have that. But for every time there was a payment to be made, the Lord made a way. He provided. And we made some tough sacrifices, mind you. We was eating grits and tuna. I tired of tuna. I said, I don't even want to for breakfast no more. We made some sacrifices, right? We
Steak
made
only
some
for-
sacrifices. But every time, a payment had to be made, we were able to find the money because we were being disciplined. We were putting money aside because we knew that we had these costs we needed to cover. And we lived tight for for a long time, but we have an asset. And granted, it's not perfect. We know that it is something that we can pass on to our children. And it will
be perfect, though.
And it will be perfect because we know that God will provide. The word says, vengeance is mine, says the Lord. And I'm trusting God for justice.
Yes.
And I'm not asking for anything that's not owed to me.
No.
I just want the money that was taken, that was promised to be used to complete my construction, to be returned so that the construction can be completed.
So that's where I'm going. I want to get into. So where you are now at this time and
we're taking legal action, and so because we are taking legal action, we can't talk about that because we can't prejudice the case or whatever. But you can tell sweet Jesus we've taken legal action.
We've made actions, we made steps. So we're waiting for that to be done. As soon as that is done, Emmett, we are going public. Going public.
We're going more public than this.
Our story.
Well, I'm looking forward to you all returning back. Because we have to weed out some persons. Unfortunately, listen, like in every industry, you have the pros and cons. There, like you said earlier, there are some very good contractors out there. Unfortunately, we have a lot, who just in it for the gain, and they don't have no interest in doing the construction. They just want to get the money, slam bomb, and it's there. So what I meant to ask is not to get into. I know you mentioned that as before the courts. Based on the scope of work, are you like 90% completed? Is there a lot of rework that has to be done? Are you aware of that? I think you mentioned that you had a third-party inspector.
We have a punch list of 129 items, ranging from cracks in the walls to plumbing to electrical. So we have a room where none of the sockets work. Absolutely none.
Oh my goodness.
We in the master bedroom, for instance, we have recessed lights and fans. There are 2 switches on the wall, but only one switch has something, so we can't use the fan because when the fan is on, the recessed lights are on. So we can't sleep with that fan on in the room.
What I want to say, and what I want to point out, Emmett, is like you said, we've made some steps, the next steps, and there was a meeting, and he had to be a part of that meeting. And he said something for the first time that summed up everything for me. The dismissiveness that we received throughout the whole process. Yeah, I termed it initially as the disrespect, but it wasn't disrespect. It was just disregard and very dismissive. And he said something in that meeting. He said, because again, remember now, I said he did some allowances for us, but he had adjusted some figures, right? And because of that, he said in this meeting, he had realized a long time early through the project that this wouldn't be a job for profit for him. It wouldn't be any profit. That answered everything for me. So obviously, because he realized there wasn't going to be a bunch of profit, which was why we got what we got.
And interestingly, in that, so you mentioned arbitration early. So it came to that before, because, they wanted to see, do we really need to go to court? Because, that could be a long, drawn out process.
Right.
So there was a mediation meeting, and he was asked outright if he was prepared to give us a refund. And he said, no. You know what he said? He won't finish the work.
He wants to come back again. He wants to be given the opportunity again. We've been through this before with our pastor. He now wants, with this new step we're taking, he wants to be given the opportunity again. Now who's the duck, Emmett? Who's the duck?
No, who's the conch? Not even the duck. Who's the conch? Like, who is the conch? Like, are you?
Y'all didn't agree to that.
That to me, I said, "Oh my gosh." I was floored. I could not believe it. I was like, you mean we didn't give you a gazillion opportunities? Because I could give you the dates, right?
Now, did y'all do anything in writing when he was supposed to do it? Was there anything in writing?
No, there wasn't anything in writing.
What to say? What that he was coming back to do the work?
Yeah, there wasn't anything in writing.
We there wasn't in writing, but we recorded our conversation.
I recorded the conversations. Now, even though they may not stand up in the court of law, I have his voice. It's authentic, and the dates that we would have met.
But even still, I mean, it was said to our pastor that he would complete the work.
Okay, well, there you have it.
And I want to point out, I think our pastor was very disappointed in the fact that he didn't uphold to what he
His
said.
word.
his all of the agreements. I mean, yeah, because I was just like, really? Oh my God. You know, and I said to our pastor, I don't even want him crossing the threshold of my yard, much less come. Like I was totally against him doing the work. And our pastor spoke to us, Phil spoke to us, and he was like, and then the bank was like, no, y'all got to use him anyway. And I nearly had a nervous breakdown.
Which we, when we had the meeting with the heads of that institution, we
You can
realized
challenge
that individual did give us wrong information.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
you
were
can challenge
misinformed.
that. Yeah, you can
And
challenge that.
so,
And
yeah.
that's the right there too. Persons. You went to the top. Unfortunately, you didn't go much earlier. Um,
Yeah.
Consumers, if you're not satisfied to the lower, dealing with your lender, arrange it to go straight to the top. Because after
And I
all,
think,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and also too, even dealing with the contractor, I want the listeners to know, yes, whether it's the institution, whether it's the contractor, whether it's the inspector, whenever you have those red flags, say, hey, okay, hey, let's have this conversation. Let's address this.
and not just that, Emmett made it clear too, whenever there is a new agreement or something is agreed upon, get it in writing.
Yeah.
And but while we may not have had some things in writing, we did because there was an email trail. There was
Okay,
a WhatsApp trail.
that's
There
another
were
thing.
photos. There was,
Perfect.
so I was able to provide the evidence
Yes,
and create a whole file.
that case that we were telling you about that we're dealing with, that file is probably about this.
500. It's
Because
about
all-
500
all the
pages.
emails and
Awesome.
WhatsApp conversations, everything is there.
That's a good. Yeah,
And yeah, it's like
electronically.
you didn't have to do any work. There was like you did the entire investigation for us because I had everything I
Awesome.
needed. And so there was everything. And so I mean, I didn't know
And
that you would end up
and
there.
it's key. Even though, sorry, no, just stick a pin right. Even though if he doesn't or she, whoever you're dealing with, doesn't respond to the email, all right, it's still history of what is going on. All right, electronically, it went to them. Once they start, so you're right on point. That's good. That's
Yeah,
that's
send
that's
the
that's writing
WhatsApp.
right
Don't
there. You're
delete
giving
those
right instruction.
WhatsApps. Don't delete those WhatsApps.
Oh,
You can email them to yourself and take the screenshots to keep the conversation because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, those things can stand up in the court of law and it works in your benefit. And so there were times when I was like, no, I'm not having this conversation. We ain't having a phone conversation because I can't record a phone
Right.
conversation, but I can
Right.
send you a voice note and you're going to respond to me and we're going to go from there. And so even the voice notes and so we didn't know we were building a case, but we had all of the evidence we needed for a solid case.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like Craig Battle said, paper trail is one of the persons watching. I totally agree with you. Yeah, we need that paper trail, and that's very important. That's what you did. That's what you did.
Yeah, that's
So,
what we did.
I do appreciate you taking the time out to come in, and
Yes,
I
thank
wish
you
you
for having us.
I wish you all the best. To get to the bottom of this and to get this to yours. When you're not entitled. You're not entitled to use. If you already asked him and numerous time to come complete the project, you're not entitled to stick with it. All right. If you don't mess up twice and you can't complete it on a quality level, you move on to the next. I would go to the extent, it might be costly, is to get to rectify all that work what is being done. And it's free advice to you, is to get a QS in there, quantity surveyor, not an appraiser who call themselves a quantity surveyor. And offline, I can give you a reputable one who have dealt with in the years. Have them go in there and do an assessment of what needs to be done. Perhaps you may have already done that. All right.
Yeah, we've done that. We've already
right.
done that.
And just go through the entire, detail, compare what's done with the drawings. You mentioned columns may have been missing out, all of those stuff, and compile that together to make your case.
Our stairs aren't even constructed properly. The little spindles that is being between, I don't know what you call them, the little posts between the stairs. 2 of them are already out.
Yeah.
Nice.
There's a lot is, even actually the term I used the term earlier, no finesse. The term finesse that actually came from our pastor when he came and see it. He's like, just no finesse at all, no no efficiency, nothing properly done. No, it's
He
almost
took
like no
pictures and
regard.
he was amazed. And then the
It was
contractor
impossible.
came and he was like, he was shocked.
So when the contractor finally came to see because when we first submitted him to showed him the report of what needed to be done, he was like, oh, this is just ridiculous.
He thought we were
When he finally came and toured the house and see everything, you know what he told us, Emmett?
Mhm.
How embarrassed he was. And he
Who was it?
apologized.
Yep,
It's the contractor now. Apologized, how embarrassed he was. He had no idea that this is what the finished work actually looked like.
Where was he?
traveling the world,
Traveling somewhere on some cruise somewhere or
Dubai.
something. I don't know.
London, the Mediterranean, living lavishly.
Well, like I said, I'm happy that you could smile at it. I know it wasn't
You have
easy.
to laugh. You have to laugh.
If we don't laugh, we cry, and
Right, yeah.
I've shed enough tears.
Yes, and once again, thank you very, very much for taking the time out. We went over our time, but that's no problem. It was very informative. The show was very informative, and I'm quite sure a lot of people, they take heed to what happened. So thank you very, very much. You all take care.
Thank you
And-
so
Thank you
much.
for having us. Yes.
All right. Good night.
Good night to you.
Here we had it, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. and Mrs. Bowe had some, experience. That's quite an experience they had doing their home construction. So until next time, I would like for each of you to enjoy this evening and have a safe and wonderful evening. Good night.
If you're looking for the best quality work in drywall, metal stud, wood framing, sheetrock installation, joint compound work, drywall finish, painting and more, contact JMac Drywall System for quality work at a great price. To get a quote today, contact at 8232-247-5585-106 or email jmacdrywallsystem@gmail.com. JMac Drywall System. We get the job done right.
Due to the high cost of remodeling an existing home and building a new one, many clients are asking whether it's better to renovate their home or build a new house. Well, we have the solution for you. Attend Emmett White's Self-Build Homeowners Educational Seminar and learn how you can save from 25 to 45% off your new home construction or renovation costs. It's an event you don't want to miss. Follow our Facebook page at Emmett White 242 for updates on when the event will be held in Abaco, Freeport, Grand Bahama, Exuma, Eleuthera, and Nassau. Make plans to attend now so you can be informed on how to save thousands of dollars when remodeling or building your new dream home.
Are you planning on building or remodeling your home, but afraid of being ripped off, overcharged, or receiving substandard workmanship? Then you don't want to miss the Emmett White First-Time Homeowner Educational Seminars. Don't become a victim. Attend the event, ask questions, get answers, and learn from one of the industry experts. Follow our Facebook page at Emmett White 242 for updates on when the event will be held in Abaco, Freeport, Grand Bahama, Exuma, Eleuthera, and Nassau.